Welcome to the show. Welcome to Your Thought Life podcast. I am your host, Michael Anderson. If you haven't taken the time to give us a rating and a review and you're a returning listener, it would be a tremendous blessing if you would take a few moments after you've enjoyed this episode and leave us a rating and a review. It helps us tremendously to reach new people seeking this style of content. Thank you so much for that act of kindness. Today we're jumping into believing in yourself through a confidence dip. Confidence is not a personality trait. It is a skill that is teachable. What most people call a confidence problem is usually a thought problem plus a nervous system problem. Your brain and body get startled by uncertainty, and your thoughts race to protect you. And the story becomes, I have lost it, when in fact you have not lost it. You're in a temporary valley, and valleys are a part of every single growth curve. It's the uncertainty that ushers in the lack of confidence. And it's really cool being in this space because I've learned that psychology always tends to give us a very useful picture. And think about this. There's something that's called the learning curve. In the beginning, you feel excited. Then complexity spikes and your brain burns more glucose to adapt to the complexity. The dip in ease is not a sign you're failing. It's a sign that your brain is learning. You have built into you a negative bias. Your brain is wired to scan for threats 5 times more than it scans for wins. And in a situation like this, where uncertainty comes in, it's treated like a threat. So when you try something new or stretch your capacity, the bias gets pretty loud. That's that protective mechanism kicking in. And it's not personal, it's architectural. We all have this innately built in from our ancestry. So I want you to remember that this is just the way your brain is wired. And our responsibility is to understand that so we can manage these situations as they unfold. In our work, we use quite a bit of cognitive behavior therapy because we know that thoughts drive feelings, which drive actions. The core move is to catch the thought and test it. Ask yourself 3 questions. What is the story that I'm telling myself? What are the facts? What is the kinder, truer thought that I can believe right now? For example, the story might be, I always mess up when it matters. The fact might be, I stumbled in one presentation and I have delivered dozens. A kinder, truer thought might be, I am learning and I can prepare 10% more each time. You don't have to go from, I can't do it, to I am unstoppable. You only need to find the next believable piece of information that will allow you to break the cycle. Confidence grows much faster when we redefine failure. If you think about Thomas Edison and all that he went through to help us with electricity, all the numerous times that he failed before he finally was able to perfect it, that's going to tell you an awful lot about how tenacity and reframing to make the situation you just went through a learning experience is incredibly helpful for all of us. It's not about failure, it's about what can we learn. In our work with clients, we see a pattern emerging quite often. People with resilient confidence treat mistakes like data points. They don't get down on themselves. They don't become harsh on themselves. They don't become the worst enemy. They do a quick after action review. And in the after action review, they say, what went well? What was clunky? If I have to do this again because it's, I don't know, some sort of developmental task where I have to get better over time, and I do that by doing, what would I try different the next time? Or how can I take the pieces that work well and craft an ending that will get me to the desired end state that I desire? And you just simply keep doing that in an iterative process until you go from not being able to being able to, or not being able to break through to breaking through. And everyone is different, but after you've done this a few times, it becomes a part of you that you just naturally do. And what we find is that life becomes very manageable when we have these confidence dips. We're far more likely to believe in ourselves because we have a strategy. We now have a technique that we can use to pick ourselves up when we're starting to go through a learning phase. I would also ask that you become more mindful of the language that you are using when you are speaking to yourself, to your children, to your teams, to people that you have influence over. Words matter, and everyone's brain is listening. One of the things that we have found that is incredibly helpful is to replace absolute words with flexible words. Instead of always or never, try often or sometimes. Instead of I cannot try, I have not yet. Carol Dweck showed that adding the word yet changes our behavior. It signals to your brain that skills can be developed, which is the basis for a growth mindset over and against a fixed mindset, which does not believe that can happen. From neuro-linguistic therapy, we're able to borrow a simple pattern interrupt. When you hear the inner critic say, "You are not enough," say out loud or in your head, "Cancel." Then replace it with the chosen statement like, "I am learning faster than I realize. I am able to do this with a little practice. I am getting better and better at this specific thing the more times I try." When you're able to issue that interrupt and change the narrative from what would be taking place as a negative bias against ourselves and change it to one where we're on an upward climb and it has a bit of a positive connotation to it, that changes your entire state in your body. And now you're able to, after a few times, after repetition, and it becomes a part of how you interact with you, now you're in a position where you can change the behavior. So the idea of being in a confidence dip and not being able to believe in yourself is turned literally on its head with just a couple of techniques borrowed from science. And then finally, I want to admonish you to make confidence visible and measurable. If you only chase feelings, it will stay somewhat slippery and hard for you to really get your arms around it. So let's make confidence concrete. Choose one arena this week. Maybe it's your morning stand-up. Maybe it's your sales call, or maybe it's in your creative time. Define one visible behavior that signals confidence to you. For example, speak your point clearly in 5 minutes and make the offer at the first 30-minute mark, or write for 20 minutes without editing. Track it daily for 7 days. Every check mark is a proof point your brain can bank. Confidence is evidence stacked over time. Trust that this is helpful for you. And remember that confidence built on identity is durable. Decide who you are independent of your scorecard. I am a person who keeps promises to myself. I am a person who learns publicly. I am a person who shows up with courage and kindness. And when you anchor your identity, setbacks become events, not verdicts. And it certainly doesn't have the ability to weaken your confidence and how you feel and believe in yourself. I want to thank you so much for joining us for today's episode. Feel free to connect with us through Linktree. The link is available in the show notes. I want to remind you that you are enough. You can do it. You are uniquely equipped to realize your goals. Until next time, take care and keep pushing forward.